Join us on the Swim Monkey.
Swim Monkey TV. On the Monkey.
Hi, Kara Cassidy here with Seahorse Tales. I have a special guest today, which is my favorite girl, Kate Cassidy, joining me. And we are going to talk about building long-lasting relationships through aquatics. So we have lots to talk about, plenty of examples out there, and feel free to chime in with questions or your own comments of how you built your long-lasting relationships through aquatics. I'm going to start with Friday, this past Friday, because we actually had a staff meeting here at Florida Swim School, like we normally do every month at least, just to talk about our relationships here, which is very important for success. So we talked about making sure the teachers are involved and really enthusiastic with the children, because we need that relationship with the students and also with their parents. Kate's going to give an example of what we talked about at that meeting. Kate.
Yeah, so the meeting was actually very helpful because we do have a lot of new teachers with us. So it's always good to kind of check in with them and give them my point of view from an employee rather than the boss point of view. And something I've noticed throughout the years of teaching swimming is that when kids come in, you might see them for 30 minutes of your week, and you see 20 some kids a week, and you have big group lessons, small privates, and sometimes you don't remember everybody as well. But the students will always remember you, and they'll go home and they'll talk about it, and they'll talk about you to their parents, to their friends, when they're at the pool. And it's always good to kind of bring that same energy and excitement to each lesson, just as if it was their first time or if it's the only person you see that week, just so that they're always comfortable and excited to see you, because they'll always talk about you from then on. Like, I still have kids that come in today and I don't teach that much anymore, but they remember me from back when I had them when they were 3, and now they might be 6 or 7. So that's always really rewarding to see and hear back from the parents as well, and say, oh, they always talk about you, Miss Kate, they love you, they miss you. And that's always just like really fun and really fulfilling. So I really like that.
Yeah, and you do want to make sure it's a positive memory they have. So sometimes, you're having a tough day, but you want to be positive and have that lasting relationship. I can give another example of the same situation. Yesterday, during lessons, I had a regular student I was taking out to her lesson, and she is often not that excited to go to her swim lesson. So I take her by the hand. She knows me. Mom is like, fine, just take her out to her lesson and she'll be fine. Sometimes we let the parents say, hey, if you're not ready or you want to hold off. But this one in particular, we already knew that she'll be fine once she's in the pool. So I took her by the hand. We're walking out by the pool here. And I'm like, you're okay. And she's not fighting me, but she's just like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm like, oh, you'll be fine. So we're holding hands, and we get to the edge of the pool, turn the corner of the pool to take her to the station of her teacher, which happens to be Miss Kate yesterday. And she lit up and she screamed happy scream, just, Kate. She was so happy. She dropped my hand, ran to the pool, jumped in her arms, and was like, wait, what just happened? So that's the kind of relationship you want to have. It's truly humbling, right, Kate, to have someone feel that way about you. That the trust is just amazing. And it does take time to build that trust. And you know what? It is a skill for anyone to have, to build that relationship. But that is one of the ways we started. And that was a great example, and everybody was very happy.
Yeah, that was so much fun, especially because I wasn't able to teach as much as often lately. And I just remember her from being in the lobby a lot and just seeing her throughout the years and having her here and there. And I just thought that was so funny because I thought I heard a kid crying, but as soon as I saw my lesson, she was just happy and giggly. And I was like, all right, I don't know who was crying, but let's get this lesson started. And and I saw Bess had a comment that said she remembers her son dreading, things he just didn't go enough. Yeah, that's definitely a part of it.
It definitely helps if you can go more often. I mean, our the way we explain to the parents is like, hey, we know you're busy. If you can't come twice a week, 3 times a week. Once at least is better than none. More is better, obviously. So we just let the parents decide based on what their availability is and how they can manage. So I'm going to go back to where the long-lasting relationships I recall first. Okay, so that would be my parents. So my dad was a lifeguard on Ocean City Beach Patrol, and I think I mentioned that last week when we were talking about a different subject. That comes up a lot. But I do recall as a child that my parents' best friends were people that my dad was lifeguards with and their wives. And to the point where we were calling them aunt and uncle just because they were so close. And my dad always talked about how strong those friendships were and how important they were to him. So that was the first relationship I recall hearing about through aquatics, and very long lasting, forever. It started when I don't know exactly how old he was. He was probably 23, and then until he passed, he was friends with these people, and they're still. My mom is still talking to the wives that they met through the beach patrol. So that's fabulous, and I strive for that long lasting relationship that's positive. They love each other. So after that, the other Ocean City Beach Patrol connection is my brother. So my brother followed in my dad's footsteps, and he became a lifeguard in Ocean City Beach Patrol. And that is how I met my husband, Sid, because they were actual stand partners. And I met Sid that way. I was younger, so, I just knew him. We weren't friendly, didn't hang out, but 10 years later, down the road, that's when our relationship began. So that all started through aquatics, a little different than swimming, but still, water was involved, and we love that. My first friends were from Ocean City, again, not Beach Patrol, but the beach was involved. And we met on the beach through mutual friends, and my best friends right now are still my best friends that I met when I was 12, 13 years old. We never lost contact. One of these shows, they'll be coming on and we can really see how it goes. But they're in my wedding. We love each other, and we have such fond memories. If any of you are watching now from my Ocean City friends, chime in, say hey, and then we can talk about how we know each other as well. So I want to go on to Kate, and let's talk about your earliest relationship through aquatics. Friendship, long-lasting, or just acquaintance?
Yeah, so kind of like on the other spectrum, I was always the tag-along for the swim meets because I retired from swimming at 9 years old. So I would always go along when my parents were both coaching, mom and dad at that time, and my brother would swim. And what was funny is that as a kid that is, the daughter, the son of a coach, and they're just kind of there for the ride, and they're just having fun at the swim meets. And what you do is you befriend the kids of the hospitality workers, of the coaches that are there, and you just become friends with them. And so I would have a little group of friends at each pool. So I would ask mom, I'm like, Mom, what pool are we going to this weekend? Who am I going to see? She's like, Coral Springs. I'm like, I know who's there. I know how to get into hospitality there. Like, I'll be fine. And that was always just kind of funny to see because we don't really know each other anymore because we just grew older and we grew further apart. But it was always just so fun because I would always know who I was going to run into, and I would always just be like having fun at the swim meets, even if I wasn't swimming. And they would always kind of be in the same boat as me. So we kind of became friends like that. And that was always just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love how that happened. I do recall so vividly her asking where the meet was. I'm like, why do you even care? It's bad enough you have to go and hang out for 4 hours. And she's not complaining. She's just asking where because she's just thinking, oh, okay, I got a plan. But it was great. I mean, obviously, still as a parent, you're going to make sure you know where they are and they know that they where their boundaries are. But it was nice to know that she had friends there to play with, and they were all in the common ground. Moving on, Kate, let's talk more about water polo. We touched on that a couple weeks ago as well. And she's been in it for a while, so she's had a lot of different relationships, long-lasting friendships that started there. So let's dive in.
Yeah, actually, Joe just put a comment up that was talking about how he has closer friends from swimming rather than high school or school. And I kind of feel the same way about water polo. So I started playing when I was about like 8 or 9. So my first team was the co-ed team, 12 and unders. I was the only girl. There were maybe 2 or other girls that would kind of just switch in and out, but I was the only one that was really there for a long time. And the guys are always like a year or so older than me. But since we all started playing around the same time, nobody was better than anybody else. So we all kind of had a little bit of respect for each other. It was all like really cool because they're pushing you and you're pushing them, and that kind of is probably why I'm so aggressive now. And then that just kind of helps throughout the years because I still know those guys. I still see them when I come home from college because we were up till 18 in college. Like we all kept playing water polo, majority of us.
Was there any intimidation factor by you playing with so many boys and you being the only female? Or did it enter your mind, or were you just...
I think at times it definitely entered my mind, especially when you go through middle school ages and things like that. But pretty quickly, I kind of snapped out of it, I think. And then when I was in middle school, I would start playing with the high school girls because campus was on the same campus as a high school, middle school campus.
Right.
So middle schoolers were allowed to be on the varsity team. That's where it was kind of intimidating because there were a bunch of all these older girls that were like, why is this 6th grader with us? Why is this 7th grader with us? And pretty quickly, they kind of noticed that I was pretty advanced and I could like kind of play with them and I could kind of beat them. And there was a little bit of me trying to prove myself a little bit more, which I think helped me.
Sure. Definitely
growing up because then I'm more confident. I'm a little bit more assertive and I can kind of like hold my own. It was kind of interesting that I went through that at such a young age. So all my friends were never really in my grade, like Joe, like all my friends ended up being water polo and swimming and things like that. And I still, older. And then when I became a senior, all my friends were younger because I was the only one in my grade that would play. So I would always just kind of like look out for them and everything. So a lot of my friends are either older or younger than me.
I want to make a comment that this just reminded me, when you were a senior in high school and it was getting closer to the water polo season for high school, the varsity season, you had to really build new relationships pretty quickly because you practically single-handedly built your team because everybody had graduated and you were the only one left. So how did you build the trust in them to want to come play?
Yeah, so I remember from my middle school days, I was intimidated by the high school girls, especially the seniors. But I've known all these girls that are younger than me in middle school and freshman, sophomore year, underclassmen. I knew all of them pretty well. So I always made sure to kind of be like a loving and accepting kind of older person that they can just go to for help. And that kind of put their trust into the program. And I would like watch their games online when I went to college. And it was always really cool. I would check in with them around season, like, hey, how are you girls doing? I would do that. I gave my number because that's kind of like a symbolic gesture.
What do you mean by that?
So my number was 8.
Your helmet number?
My cap number. Okay. So my cap number was 8, and it was given to me by a senior when I was 6th grade going into 7th grade.
And what was that like?
That was weird because she didn't even tell me. I feel like Dad told me. He was like, oh, she wants you to have this number. And I was like, okay, like I'll take it because nobody else was going to. So I got it. And then when I graduated, I gave it to an 8th grader who was going into her freshman year because that's just kind of like a little push, like, hey, like I believe in you, I trust in you. And that's kind of putting your trust into the whole entire younger generation. And coming back, I see them bringing new girls in, and it's just really rewarding to see all of it like that.
Yeah, again, humbling. I mean, to have them have that trust in you and have people to look up to you, because that's not why you do it. That's like the result, so that's amazing. So after high school, Oh, during high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So another thing is I actually met one of my teammates in high school. Didn't even know her. I was
teammate.
Yeah, my Arizona State. We were both juniors, and we went to the USA Water Polo National Team Selection Camp for 18 unders, and which is basically also kind of like a recruitment outlook. Like a bunch of coaches come and they see who's out there and everything. And what was cool is that I was the only one from Southeast Zone in Florida going out to this huge camp in California where it's just like there's 5 different zones for just California.
Well, how do you get invited there?
So what you do is you're a part of the USA Water Polo.
Okay.
And you become a part of the team. So I was a part of the SEZ, Southeast Zone team. And so I knew a lot of girls like that from Florida. It was majority Florida, some Georgia, but that was about it.
Okay.
And so we'd go out to a tournament in California. And then from the tournament, you get picked to be to go.
Camp?
Yeah, you go to the national team selection camp, which is like a few months later. And I didn't know it at the time, but I met one of my future teammates there. She was there training, and what was cool is that she's from New Mexico, and I'm from Florida, which are 2 states that would probably like never randomly meet, especially through water polo. And then flash forward a year, we're seniors in high school, and we have the whole freshman incoming class come out for the senior day and for orientation. So we were kind of like, weren't you at NTSC? Yeah, weren't you at NTSC? And we were like, oh, that's like kind of cool.
Nice.
So it was kind of cool. We had like a little bit of a bond before that, and it's just fun.
And still
Definitely. I mean, yeah, we're still on the team. We're still, we got
great.
1 more year. So
I love it.
Senior year.
Yes, let's do it.
A lot of fun.
That's very cool. So, I have my aquatics connections obviously are different. They're not through competition, but they're through the swim school organizations. I go to the conferences nationally. The U.S. Swim School Association puts on 2 conferences a year, and I went to my first one, I believe, in 2000, and I didn't know a soul. And I went to that conference. It's a 3-day conference, and I met lots of people. And what was so warming was that how welcoming everyone was, even though they might have known each other. There's always somebody new each year, but it was just so exciting to me because everyone got along so well. And why wouldn't we? Because we all have the same thing in common, which was teaching swimming and trying to be better and water safety and saving lives. And to be around people like that all in one area is just really wonderful. And I have very strong friendships from that group. Actually, we have even created a little secret group from the Swim School Association, just a select few that we keep in touch on the sly. And we just encourage each other, make sure we're in touch and make sure everyone's doing well, especially now. We have had to make a lot of changes to our facility and the way we teach lessons, because we want the relationships we have with our customers, which are our families, we call them families, and we want them to be comfortable when they walk in the door. We had to make a couple different changes since we opened in May, and now we're keep doing it. And for one big thing that was a huge change is that we stopped letting them use the changing rooms, simply because it is too much of an overlap of the number of people. I'm just using this as an example to explain to you about relationships. And we're limited to the number of people we should have in our facility at one time. So we don't want the overlap, and then everybody's changing and while the next group is coming in. So we just said, we're not going to change right now. So another example actually happened yesterday, and I had a parent upset about it, even though he knew about it for, several weeks, that we were not going to be changing the kids. And the lobby was filled with other parents, and he was getting on his way out, and he just didn't understand it, didn't think it was fair, didn't like the idea of it. And I just said, I'm sorry, this is just trying to make it fair for everybody. We just want everyone to feel safe. And, it just went on like that. And, I wanted him to be calm, and I wanted him to be happy here. And, he left after our conversation. But then I took that moment to further build the relationship I have with the people who are here. And I made an announcement to the families in the lobby. I said, hey, because they all heard the exchange. I said, hey, I understand the inconvenience. I said, but right now we need to just follow all the rules together. Once we're in phase 2, I can open up the changing rooms and, things will be easier, but right now let's all do this together. And they were all like, hands down, hey, you're fine. We understand, we're all in this together. But that's just something I think was a quick example for this show of building relationships, because it is important. I mean, you're dealing with their children. You want them to trust you. So that is how that works. With the other parents who may not be ready, that's fine as well. Let's see, Bess. Online groups I belong to have been an incredible resource. Yeah. I mean, you need to talk to each other. You need to be open and positive. Positive is really important. And back to relationships, I just want to say, yeah, friendships are really important. And you really, don't you want that positive friendship? How about, wouldn't you love to be the person when you go into a room or a party, let's say a dinner party or, a gathering, and you're the one that people are gravitating towards just because you have that positive vibe? Like, how amazing would that be? I mean, I think about that and I think about, man, I would like to try and be that person. So, when I'm talking to my friends, I really do try and express that, or express that to people that I'm friendly with or want to be friends with, or I'm trying to build that friendship with. What do you think, Kate?
Yeah, I totally agree. Going back to kind of what you were talking about, your groups. So we kind of have the same thing. I'm a part of a big organization, Arizona State Athletics, or Sun Devil Athletics. And every week, our water polo team, Aquatics, we have a Zoom meeting, and we have girls from all over the world. We have a few in Europe right now. And we always try to get everybody on. The other week, we did a Jeopardy game. This week, we did a little calming, mindfulness exercise. And so just kind of checking in with your groups and knowing that other people are in the same boat as you, that you share a lot with, like a team, like water polo, swimming, diving, all of that. It's really important. And especially during all this. So it's just really great.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to move on to Quinn just for a minute, just because, other friendships that we build. Actually, I can go back to water polo as well. So, because, I'm now friends with people I never would have been friends with, just because they live in California. Our paths never would have crossed if our daughters didn't go to Arizona State together and play water polo. I mean, I have very good friends now from that, and we will remain friends, I'm sure, after graduation. So Quinn is asking, why do you think great friendships start around the water? I think because water is calming. I think it calms people. I've read a lot about that, and I think you can find things like that. I probably have it in that book over there. Oh yeah. But I do think that is one huge reason as for the calmingness that water eludes. You agree?
I do agree. Yeah, definitely. Even though I play a very aggressive game, I agree.
But I think that's where friendships, because I just think there's a bonding place there.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. But other parents, so Quinn swam at UF, and I'm still friendly with his roommates and teammates' parents. So I mean, the relationships really don't end if they're meaningful. If you're not in meaningful friendships, okay, then move on. But if you are, I think hang on to them and reach out and let them know you're thinking about them once in a while, because that's how friendships last. If you just say, oh yeah, we were friends 2 years ago, we really had a lot of fun. Well, when's the last time you talked to them? 2 years ago. Well, that's not a long-lasting relationship. I mean, really work on it, because it's important and it's going to help you become a positive person. And I think that's what most of us want to strive for, is being positive.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had those young 7-8-year-old friends at those random swim meets. And I mean, obviously I didn't keep in contact with them because I had no way of keeping in contact with them. But I always look back with fondness on those memories. So even if the friendships fade away, I think it's good to kind of have those positive memories
Sure.
surrounding yourself at those times.
Absolutely. And I didn't mean to say that old friendships weren't meaningful. I just meant the long lasting ones. If you want them in your life, you need to
Work on it.
Yeah, make an effort. And
Definitely.
like Bess and Joe, how about how we met? Through aquatics. You started Florida Swim Network. I wasn't involved during that time, but Quinn and Sid were. But then how about that we shared a house for a week in Rio? Like, we barely knew each other. I didn't know you much, but I mean, that was just a great experience. And I treasure that time that, we got to know each other and experience all that we did, and I look forward to more like that. So I do recall Quinn's roommate, let's see, 2 years ago, I guess Quinn's roommate was getting married, invited our whole family. I mean, how amazing is that? It was really just wonderful. On top of that, he had a brother who was his best man, and he had Quinn and their other buddies were ushers, and he actually asked Quinn to do his wedding speech. I mean, wow. I mean, that's pretty humbling. I mean, that was a beautiful wedding too. Anna, how are you? Where are you? But yeah, so I mean, these relationships are great. And Quinn's other roommates' parents were there, so it was great for us to all see each other then too. And Quinn keeps in touch with his college teammates and roommates, and they're still tight, and I love it. Sid, we know, has 1 million friends from swimming. Because so often he'll say, oh, this is my good buddy so-and-so, and I'll say, we've been married 28 years, I never heard that name before. He's like, no, and then he gives me the connection of how it works out. And I look up to him for that, because his friendships mean a lot to him as well. I can tell you the one thing I remember my father giving me advice on was that you should always keep in touch with the people you meet who are meaningful to you. And I remember that. I will remember that forever because, it means a lot to me, and I use it. I use it all the time. Quinn, Sid, one of his best long life friends.
Tony Bart.
And rival, Tony Bartle. Yeah, I met him. So I met that friend.
That name a lot, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, it's not just your college friends. Your friends from my best friends I met them when I was 12, and they're still my best. So friendship is everything. So I think we need to keep that going and be positive. Be the one that people are looking for a ear to hear, listen, or good advice, or just something positive to tell them. Anything else we want to talk about? Kate, what do you think? What do you want to close with?
Yeah, so I just kind of want to go again about the relationships you have, and I kind of want to go back to the swim school because I do think of the swim school as a community, and it's a great feeder program that I know Dad has talked about. I know we've talked about that before, but it really is great because, again, I've seen kids that we've known start in the Baby and Me classes, and they go to the teams, and the moms become friends in the Baby and Me classes. That happens all the time. And they're still here years later.
Oh, it's
and
wonderful.
They still know you, and they're like, how's college? And you ask about their kids and their lives. And it's a really a small town feel. And I think aquatics makes the world kind of more tight knit.
Unified.
Yeah. And it's just kind of cool. You're always going to know somebody if you're at a swim meet or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it has been great watching the children and the families grow here at the swim school. I've had so many parents who did not know each other, sat on opposite sides of the room, one over here, and their kids are in the same group. Now, 2 months later, they get a little closer and they start talking about school. Now a year later, they're still coming to the same class. Now they're making sure they're in the same class time, even when their schedules change because they want to stay together. And now 2 years later, they're best friends and they're still in touch, and the kids are on swim team. I mean, they're not even at swim school anymore, but they keep in touch with me. And, now their kids are on the swim team and more. We've had kids pass through who are now going to college and swimming, already past college and from swimming. I had a girl come in, I want to say January, and I wasn't here her first day. And then I saw the name and I was like, oh, the name looks familiar, but I couldn't place it. And then I saw her and I said, oh, she goes, do you remember me? I said, I do, because I helped coach the varsity team at St. Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
And here she is with her baby. Like, I hadn't seen her since she was in high school. Oh my gosh. So like stuff like that is just so warming, and I love it. I know Breck Ballou. Yeah, I know Breck from Beach Patrol. Oh, there you are, Breck. Hey, Breck. Countless hours training, competing, shared experience. Yep.
They have to make it. They have to.
Yeah, you're in it together, right? And Breck, I know you're still buddies with Bruce and Brian Donahue from New Jersey. And that's a great connection, because I've known them since I was like in second grade, just because they were friends with my brother. I mean, but I know Breck knew them from swimming, so that's awesome. I love it. So yeah, keep the bonds going and enjoy the moments. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next Sunday.
Bye.
Join us on the Swim Monkey. Swim
Swim Monkey.
Monkey TV. On the Monkey.